Hello, everybody. I'm Ed Parcaut, your host of Helping the Brave. Let's bring in our guest today, Jim Rojas-Taylor. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, Ed. How are you today?
I can't complain. I'm still alive. So,
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
and some days, that's a challenge.
I agree.
I I started this show 4 years ago. I didn't know what I was going to come across. I've come across a lot of different things with PTSD. I've come across a lot of different things with how bad the VA is on PTSD. A lot of VAs are really good on medical, but overall for mental, they really suck. And don't get me started on that because we could be our whole show on that. But if you're going for any of your disabilities, your benefits, it's a challenge. And if you have questions on it, reach out to me. I can walk you through what you should do. But anyway, that's not the premise of the show. That's just something I've learned. What's the only question I ask on every show is the same, which is what service did you choose and why?
U.S. Marine Corps, and mainly it goes back to when I was a little one, maybe like 5 to 7 years old. I was in Jersey, and I remember being on the boardwalk, and I just remember seeing this Marine dressed blues. He was a sergeant. 'Cause I remember his rank, the three stripes, and he was just looking out into the ocean. And I just remember how, for whatever reason, he just owned the ground he was on. It was his. It wasn't been belonging to him, but it was there, and it was just his presence that kind of captivated me. And the blues too. I mean, beautiful uniform. But that
Right.
was the first hook. But I guess the second one that really rung me in was around junior high school. My freshman year, I just got an elective, and it was theater one. I got kicked out of that after 6 weeks and put into ROTC, which I did well in. I was in Army ROTC for about 3 years, 3.5 years, and then jumped the Marine Corps there.
Wow. So when you joined, you were an officer?
Negative. It was
Well,
high school ROTC,
ROTC.
not
Oh,
college. So I
okay.
gave me an extra rank. I enlisted as a lance corporal instead
Gotcha.
of a private.
Gotcha. Yeah, because when I was if I went and got a couple different college courses, because I was a corpsman,
Hmm.
with you can call me a squid and I can call you a jarhead because we were together all the time.
Yeah.
I was stationed at Camp Pendleton at the
Hmm.
hospital there, the old hospital, not the new one. And so I totally understand what you're talking about. Yeah, and like I was trying to say, Marines are my people, and I relate more to Marines than I do Navy.
I
If
get that because it's like I always hear that with corpsmen a lot because it's corpsmen are like a different breed of Navy. I mean, don't get me wrong, Navy. They're great guys in there, but corpsmen are just they're more Marine than Navy. It's just it happens. You get
well,
around charge, you get infected by it.
yeah, well, we're all Department of the Navy, no matter what.
That's true. Amen. You hear that one joke? It's like after the Revolutionary War, all that was left was the Army and the Navy were arguing. There was a battalion of Marine and like 20 mules, and the Army was like, "We'll take the mules. You can have the Marines." And that's how it's part of the Navy.
That's not how it worked, but that's okay.
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, that's just like the Army Air Corps turned into the Air Force.
Hmm.
The Navy had this, and they turned into the Marines. That's just how that works, and
Yep.
that's how the whole everything works. And that's why I didn't realize why so many people got drafted into the Air Force during Vietnam. But then if you understand that it had only been a couple, not even 20 years old of a service, of course it needed more help. Army
Hmm.
is the biggest service out there. Even to this day, they're
Yeah.
the great. My son's in the Army, and when he was going in, we talked to Air Force, which wouldn't guarantee. He talked to the Army; they guaranteed his job, and he's made rank so fast because of that in the Army, because they have so much more opportunity than when I was in the Navy. It took me forever to get to E4.
I went had problems. I went up and down, but I was in the wrong place. Like I joined the Marine Corps, but I got stuck in the wing. I got two NJPs, like 30-page 11s, but my first page 11 verbatim was too much Rambo motivation. My second one was likes to play soldier. And I'm thinking, bro, I'm in the Marine Corps, but I was in the wing. So it was like the Air Force, it was all officers. They didn't care
Oh,
about hoorah. They care about spit and polish.
right. I'm sorry to hear that. So,
Mhm.
how long were you in?
6 years, 5 active, 1 reserve.
Okay. And when did you join? What year?
1997 to 03.
Okay. Um, any, where'd you go? Did you see anything while you were in?
I was in the rear with the gear, man. I enlisted, went to boot camp. Then I went to 29 Palms for a year because my A school. That's why I had a longer because my MOS was 5962. I was a
Which
tactical air
is?
command center repairman. So basically, I was a system administrator slash repairman. And that took me to 29 Palms for a year, which I loved. But then I got to Cherry Point for my last 4 years, and it was just a nightmare. I didn't fit
Cherry
there.
Point. Where's Cherry Point?
North Carolina. It's
Oh,
about
I'm sorry.
35 miles north
I
of
can't.
Campbell.
All you had to say was North Carolina. You don't have to say anymore.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, North Carolina is definitely humid and really bad. Because we went there for my son's graduation from from boot camp.
Yeah.
Boot camp, and it was like 90, and it just rained. Oh my God! I mean, I'm in Modesto, California. When we have fog, it's because it's cold. They have fog because it's humid and hot.
I get it. It's rough, man.
Yeah, that's one place I tell everybody why I'll never leave California, because I don't want to deal with weather or humidity. So.
That's San Diego, man. It was just beautiful. I was there for 3 months for artillery school. I was when my reserve year, I was in the artillery. I was the forward observer. So I went down to San Diego, and that was just gorgeous, man.
Okay,
wow.
San Diego's a big place. Where in San Diego were you?
Right by Coronado Island.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we were at the Navy base out there.
Okay. Yeah, so I actually went to RTC, NTC, and then that went away. So down there. Yeah. Then I was at Balboa, and then I went to Camp Pendleton. There was only 3 of us who got billets to California. Everybody else got East Coast, and most of them went to North Camp Lejeune.
Yeah.
And if they went there, those guys all have guarantee have problems from that water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the Marine Corps, and they don't care. They get the cheapest of everything. They just get you to fight.
That's a Navy base, dude, North Carolina.
Yeah.
The one I would have went to, but thank God I got the best out of everybody, because I got Camp Pendleton at the hospital. Then after that, I came back to Camp Pendleton, and I still was there after I went to a specialty school. But this isn't my podcast. This is your podcast. What do you want? So when you transitioned out, how was your transition? Because you said you're in the rear. How was it? Were you planning on leaving when you got out?
No, I was planning on doing a career. I wanted the full 30, but my first 6 years was my chain of command. It was such a bad taste in my mouth. I couldn't take it. I just needed out. Like my NJP should be 1 or 2 people. My first NJP was 35 witnesses. What you need 35 witnesses for? And it's like my NJP was because I split a 6-pack. I bought a 6-pack of Heineken and gave it to 2 20-year-old Marines in the barracks after a successful operation. It's like they were in the barracks, and 35 witnesses for that. And my chain of command just broke my balls for 4 years.
Wow.
So I got out.
Because they changed that to where, because like Camp Pendleton on base, you could drink at 18.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because it was Tijuana, because they wanted to keep them away from Tijuana. So It was like a nook, a specialty in the Marine Corps.
Well, not only that, at the time, all bases were that way. Then they changed it a few years ago to match what the state is.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference, because every base was different. Every base had its own rules. It had to compare. That was 18 at the clubs on base, and so everybody would go to clubs on base. Mm-hmm. Not that you wanted to, but that's just what you would do, because you could drink there and you couldn't drink off base.
Yeah. But after the 6 years, I was out, and I didn't have any direction. It was 2003, and I got a job at a Lone Star Steakhouse. And I remember there was this one evening after the shift, I was rolling silverware, and there was a couple of girls at another table rolling silverware. And one was going on about her voice lessons, how difficult they were, being an honorary jarhead. I was just breaking balls and like, come on, voice lessons? I can tell you about hard. I'm freaking Marine. And for whatever reason, this girl just popped off on me. She got up. She's like, oh, yeah, I bet you couldn't last 3 weeks, soldier boy. And I kind of took it as a challenge. So I was like, fine. Yeah, I want to show you. So I went I was in Athens, Alabama. I was working in Huntsville, Alabama. So I was looking around in Huntsville, Alabama to find a voice coach. And I found one. And I'm like, I'm going to do 6 weeks just to show this girl. But like after the first voice lesson, I kind of forgot about the challenge. I forgot about it altogether, because I was so fascinated by how this dude made me sound and how he was able to break down songs and what he was teaching me, how he was able to handle me. And then he got me into a chorus. Then he got me into a musical. Then I just started auditioning on my own. And over the course of 2 years, from 2003 to 2005, I probably booked like 30 different gigs over the course of several different things. And then that propelled me to New York. So I moved to New York, picked up several more credits up there, and it culminated into me writing, producing, performing my own play called 2 Tablespoons of Crazy in Midtown Manhattan. And that endeavor got these producers from this film Hunger looking at me, because they were like, bro, how did you do that? Because when I wrote the first line of the play to where we had closing night, 5 months had passed. And they were like, how did you do that fast? And I'm like, well, I didn't know I couldn't. I didn't know any of the rules. Yeah, no one taught me that. All I knew was the jarhead thing. It's like when you're in the shit, you look forward. You worry about the step in front of you and you keep stepping and keep stepping. And if there's an assault, you rush through it. So anytime something bad happened, I just rushed right through it. And then I got it done. So that got me the audition for this film, Hunger. And then the film Hunger, there was a unique moment in it because midway through shooting, the lead actor, did you ever see the 1990s Mortal Kombat film?
Yeah.
The guy who played Johnny Cage, Lyndon Ashby, that's the guy was the opposite. He was the guy I was doing this scene with. Now, he was on camera, not me. And when the director yelled cut, this dude reached over and shook my hand like I pulled his kid out of a fire. And I didn't understand why. It took me several weeks to break it down. But essentially what had happened is like in moments like that, what normally happens is the actor off screen isn't giving the actor on screen as much as they could be because they're off screen and they don't care. Now, even though I wasn't in character at that moment because of my lifestyle, I was present in the moment. So when I was delivering my lines just as myself, it was impactful enough that made his performance better. That's why he was thanking me, because I made him look better on camera. And that's how acting works. You give to your scene partner.
Mhm.
And it was in that understanding that I realized that what these acting tools and techniques were more than just what we can do for entertainment. They can actually work in life. And that's when I started trying to breaking this trip down and looking into it. I started teaching in the school systems for a year. And then I was getting a lot of credit because, I mean, I'm not a teacher. I'm a high school dropout, but I was transforming these kids. And the teachers were just watching in amazement because they were very introverted. And I was showing them how to be extroverted. I was showing them how to take command of the stage and be present in the moment, but not just for acting, for life. And then that got me after that to write the book. I wrote a book called All Your Best Selves. And that helped me out a little bit, but it didn't do too well. It wasn't until I started podcasting, maybe like in February, it was like maybe 5 podcasts in, that I realized what I'm really peddling here is mental and emotional literacy. And I didn't realize that because if you think about this, because I've been acting for 30 years, and if we look at what actors work with, or just artists in general, like if a metal worker works with metal, glass work works with glass, a musician, composition, instruments, an actor, the marble we chisel is the human mind and emotions. That's what we shape, and we have to become any other human being mentally and emotionally. So we're at the point now where we're teaching actors how to use real emotions in imaginary circumstances, how to build a real working mindset for the stage. But what I'm saying is, we don't have a mind and emotions for the stage and a second set for real life. So these tools are applicable to everyone. It's kind of like if I got a screwdriver and I'm working on a toy Tonka truck and I'm unscrewing it, and my buddy walks up to me, he's like, yo, I can't get this panel off my Ford F-150. And I look at him like, oh, that's a screwdriver. Here, take this. And he's like, why would I use that? That's what we use for toys. It's like we have to stop thinking about acting tools and exercises as for acting, because acting has evolved over the last 2,500 years. If we go back to the ancient Greeks, for about 2,100 years, going back to the ancient Greeks, it was about what people think about representation, pretending, masking. The 300 years that followed, it moved into, and I'm oversimplifying, they're like the Victorian Shakespearean area, it's moved into naturalism and realism. But around 1900, with this cat named Konstantin Stanislavski, he's considered the father of modern acting. This guy changed it philosophical. So it's not acting. That's not even the right word anymore. It's about becoming someone else mentally and emotionally. And I'm making these arguments like, okay, if we can teach an actor how to use real emotions in imaginary circumstances, why aren't we giving these same tools to adolescent or pre-adolescents, kids in elementary school? So when they hit adolescence, they're not going in blind. Now they have the tools and techniques to manage those emotions. Women complain in relationships with men that they can't communicate, they lack empathy. Well, those are two things that we taught. We teach listening skills 6 different ways, easy, more than that probably in acting. So I'm saying all these tools and techniques will enhance your life. And one I want to point out real quick is called the Stanislavski system. Now, I want you to think about this real quick. Like a submarine's underwater, right? It can't see anything, right? So how does it know where to go? How does it not bump into anything? It uses sonar. It sends that ping out, and that ping bounces off like other subs, the ground, surface vessels, whales, and it brings that information back. It's about situational awareness. Well, the Stanislavski system is 7 questions. These are 7 questions that we use as actors to ground our character in the moment, to be present in the moment, to be rich and full of life in the moment. What I'm saying is these exact 7 questions can be used by any individual to enhance their personal character in the moment. And here they are real quick.
Hold on. Jim,
Go ahead.
We'll get into that in a second. All right.
Absolutely.
This is a podcast, back and forth conversation.
Sorry.
That's okay. You're in your moment. We got it. We'll
Mhm.
come back to your technique. I'm gonna go back to where you said you've been acting even for 30 years. What have
Yes.
you done over that 30 years? We'll get into all the whole your book and your technique in a second, but I want to explain to people, because a lot of people are like, because when I was in San Diego, I did modeling and acting, and that stuff came out last year in Rotary, and they had pictures of mine. Luckily, it was all analog and not digital, so nobody else can find it. But what I'm getting at is we go through these things and we learn what you talked about, where like I learned different things that I use to this day that I use in everything else I do, which, like you said, why can't we teach people this kind of stuff? What did you do over that 30-year in acting? What did you do? Just plays? Were you in movies? Were you TV? What did you do?
Wide variety. I started out doing, like I said, a chorus. Then I moved into musicals. I moved into operas from there. Then I got into straight plays. Then from actually, when I got into straight plays, I also got into independent films, but like, backyard independent films. From there, I moved into New York. I hooked up with the Labyrinth Theater Company. I did a small production with them for, what do you call it? A master class. And then just stage work in New York. That's when I wrote my own play up there, and that got me into. Go ahead.
No, so what did you, during that whole period of time, or 30 years, you did many different things. What was the one thing you enjoyed the most out of all that? Because you did a lot. Some actors just do one thing and that's all they do.
It's a funny thing you said, because in like 2017, I did the Fantastics, and I remember the director said this line. He was talking about theater. And he's like, we do it because we love it. And then when he said that, I realized, I never really loved it. I never really liked it. I just did it because I tripped into it and I was good at it. So it's not so much that I enjoyed it or liked it. I mean, it was fun, sure, but it was never like I never had a calling. I never wanted to be an actor. I just found myself there. Like I do a lot of things. So I mean, it's all pretty much the same to me. It's more just about living because as an actor, you get to live multiple different lives. Most people just live their own life. Like most people, honestly, live the same day for like 50 years. It's sad, but it's true. Whereas an actor, you mentally and emotionally change. Like you change your clothes. People wouldn't wear the same outfit, but they wear the same mind and emotions. As actors, we just change our mentality like we change our clothes. And it's a very unique thing, because that's kind of how I developed what I refer to as spiritual shape shifting. And that's shifting in the moment from one mental and emotional alchemical makeup into another one.
Yeah, because I don't think people understand that whole, of acting, how you take on a totally different persona. I mean, there's some actors, they're the same person in every respect,
Oh, yeah.
right? They don't change. They don't take anything else on. They are that person. There's actors who totally turn into that person and change everything, and sometimes really messes them up to get back out of what they just went through. But I was just, so what is, before we get into your system that you want to talk about, what is your calling now?
I think
you just said that wasn't your calling. So
Yeah.
what is your calling?
It's letting people know what I found. It's like I feel like I accidentally stole fire from the gods by realizing that these tools and techniques will teach all humanity mental and emotional literacy. It's like back when nobody knew how to read and write, and we gave them reading and writing, changed the world. When we gave mathematics, numerical literacy to the world, it changed the world. So I'm just making the argument, if we gave the world mental and emotional literacy, why wouldn't it change the world?
And now, what is this technique you were talking about?
This is called the Stanislavski system, and this is one of many, the tip of the iceberg. But it's 7 questions, and these 7 questions are designed to ground the character in the moment. That's number 1, who am I? This is the moment in relation to you. Number 2 is where am I? This is the moment in relation to the environment. Number 3 is when is it? This is the moment in relation to time. Number 4 is what do I want? This is the moment in relation to purpose. Number 5 is why do I want it? This is the moment in relation to desire. Number 6 is how do I get it? This is the moment in relation to action. And number 7 is what's in my way, or What's in my way is fine. And this is the moment in relation to obstacles. But the point is, these 7 questions, like I said, they're situational awareness. They're a way to get you to learn how to think in the moment, to dissect the moment you're in. Because most people have no idea. Like, it blows my mind how many times I ask people, like, what do you want? It's like, I don't know. I never thought about it. Bro, why do you deserve it? How are you going to get it? It's like these tools and techniques, they give more. It's not a platitude. Like when you're growing up as a kid, parents tell me all the time, it's like, don't be stupid, make good choices, think before you act. But what does that mean beyond that? It's just a platitude we're handed. What I'm saying is these are the tools and techniques that will open up your mind. It's like the human mind, the human brain is the most powerful supercomputer human beings know of. That's what mind scientists say. What I'm arguing is that these cats accidentally, unbeknownst to what they were doing, created the operating system for that brain, the Windows 11, the Linux, the iOS. This is the stuff that will allow human beings to interface their mind and emotions in a way they never have before. Like I said, we're teaching people how to use real emotions. How many parents don't know how to teach their kids how to use their emotions? Well, here we got the tools. We can show you in a multitude of different ways through scene work, through Meisner. Meisner teaches how to read behavior. Stella Adler, she worked with Konstantin Stanislavski and kind of changed the system to be, because in 1933, have you ever heard of method acting?
Yes.
That came about right in 1933 with the group theater. The problem with method acting, this kind of what you led into a little bit, is emotional recall. What they said, and they based it off Stanislavski, but Stanislavski was never there. Stanislavski was in Russia. But they said, like, if something happens in your life, use your real life in that moment. But like, what if something traumatic happened? What if you were violated or attacked? What if you were raped? Would you go back to that rape to bring it more life to the scene? That's damaging. That's a horrible idea to do. Stella Adler recognized that. And so that's when she went to Paris. And at the time, that's where Stanislavski was when he left Russia. And she worked with him. And they came to the point where saying, no, where you have to go is to the imaginative, create imaginative traumas that allow you to go to that space so it's not affecting your real trauma. And these tools and techniques will be adopted by other people, because like what I'm talking about, when I was writing the book, I started finding a lot of science that supports it. Like there's this group called Trauma Drama, where it helps teens, kind of like what I was talking about. It takes teens who are dealing with trauma, and instead of going through their own trauma, it'll take them through imaginary trauma, teach them the tools and techniques to build and fight through that trauma, to work through it. And they can take those tools and go and work on their own trauma instead of working through their trauma to develop the tools. So it's kind of like reverse engineering healing in a ways. There's also Sense Theater, which works with kids with autism, and it kind of works like pulling the curtains back. Kids with autism has a problem reading social cues. So what they'll do is take acting techniques to teach them how the environment works, to teach them a situational awareness, so they don't have to read the cues anymore. Now they can read the environment and the situations, pick up the cues from that, and then understand, because kids with autism a lot of times need to see the big picture. They can't pick up on the small things. So when you give them the big picture, it makes everything else a little bit easier. There's also, back to the 1950s, Dr. Joseph Levy Moreno created psychodrama, which is now psychotherapy, literally by taking acting tools and techniques and putting in the group therapy format. And that kind of just opened things up, because he was talking about when talk therapy, it allows people, it helps, sure, and there's nothing against that. But when you get your body involved, it changes things, because trauma resides in the body. Dr. Van der Kolk was doing Vietnam studies, and that's what he discovered, that trauma is in the body. So once you get your body involved, it lets different things out. So like I said, there's a lot of research behind this that supports this. It's just it's working on broken people. I'm saying let's go one step further and help people, give them these tools before they're broken, to make them more robust so they won't break during the trials of life.
Right. But how do you help veterans with this type of thing that you're talking about? Because you also just said let's get them before they get them when they're young.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you help veterans who are already at a certain age? And
same way.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same way, because it doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter what you're going through. They're just the tools. I just say get them young, because it's better. But whatever age you're at, you can start right away. And there's no bar for entry, because people do this all the time. It's kind of like this. People who deal with insecurities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Insecurities in acting, it's called stage fright. How do you defeat stage fright? You know your beats, you learn the moments, you ask questions, you take apart, you dissect everything. Well, how would that not help in insecurities in life? How do you defeat your insecurities in life? You answer all the questions. You know your beats. You know your moments. You know all the parts to it. The more you know, the more you're going to eradicate your insecurities. Veterans have a lot of problem dealing with emotional issues because who teaches us how to use our emotions? Whoever said, hey, little Johnny, this is how your mind works. Hey, little Susie, this is how your emotions work. If we start giving them the tools and techniques to learn to work through those emotions, and it's very much like the gym. Veterans go to the gym all the time to build their body, but they're not doing it with their emotional body. Once you do it with your emotional body, you'll grow stronger and more robust. The problem we have now is what we have, especially with males, is they'll bury their emotions. So we're going to bottle them up. We're going to bottle them up, but they don't go away. They just get bigger and bigger and bigger. So you got your emotions at level 50, your level 50 rage, but you're only at level 5 in learning how to deal with that rage. So when it comes out, it takes over you. But when you learn these tools and techniques and you level up with your rage, so now your rage is level 50, but your capacity to deal with it is also level 50. It doesn't matter. You're still in control of it now because you have the power to.
All right, Jim. So how do people find this information to help them?
Right now, it's the only place, because like I said, nobody else is really peddling this the way I am. So I'm starting it on my own. I started my website, tbcenterprises.com, and I'm rebranding right now to, it's going to be the Me Literacy Program, capital M, capital E for mental and emotional. So it's going to be the mental and emotional literacy program. But right now, tbcenterprises.com is where I have most of my podcasts that people can reach out. I have my book. Sorry, let me grab it real quick. It's called All Your Best Selves. It's available on Amazon right now. You can buy it right there. And it's in 3 different parts. The first part is autobiographical with the idea. The second part is the idea with science. The third part's the meat and potatoes. It's what I refer to as the intangible toolbox. It has the Stanislavski system, the Meisner technique, Uta Hagen's exercise, improv exercises. And that's where I line up the acting exercises and how they work with how you use them in life. So you can see them side by side. And it's like all just actionable tools you can use to help you in life. So the third part is very valuable, I believe. But like I said, once this idea hits, I think it'll spread more. But right now it's a little difficult because nobody's talking about it as much.
Well, new ideas take time.
Yes.
It takes time to build it, and it takes it's not overnight. It takes a while. So keep working on it. Jim, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing your journey and what you're passionate about right now.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me. Thank you for your time and your platform.
And besides, so the best way for people to find you is through your website. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. www.tbcenterprises.com. You can contact me on there, email, all that kind of stuff. And also on social media, I operate under Soy Candy, SOICANDIE. I put videos out on there. So those are the 2 places mainly.
All right, Jim, again, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me again.
My pleasure.